Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go. Here you go.
Enthusiasm. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It is Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. And enthusiasm was one of the words used by Jim Harbaugh in a very terse press conference when the hammer started to come down upon him by the NCAA. Now, Jim Harbaugh, as you know, was the coach of the national champion Michigan Wolverines. And you know that Jim Harbaugh is now the coach of your Los Angeles Chargers. But it didn't stop the NCAA from starting to outline all of the violations that the University of Michigan was committing and all of the people who were committing them. Basically, here's the story. There are 7 members of the program, 7, who are accused of violating NCAA rules. The NCAA sends a draft. And the way it goes is you get a draft, it's a notice of the allegations. But like when you get a speeding ticket in another country and then sort of disappear home, hey, don't come back here because if you do, you're going to have to pay it. That doesn't really go for drug crimes or physical crimes, but the NCAA violations, if you get yourself out of college, you're good. If you try to come back into college, then they could do a show cause hearing and you could find yourself in a heap of trouble. So Jim Harbaugh said, you know what? I have the perfect way to deal with this. Now, ignoring the fact that 2 of the 7 people are still involved as actually the head coach, Sharon Moore. He's the current coach and one of the 7 people, one of the 7 members from the coaching staff. One of the people who didn't get to go with Jim to the Chargers, because some of the guys did. Don't kid yourself. You think when he was putting his coaching staff together, do you think they got together and said, listen, Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator, is there any chance you want to come with me to the Chargers? He looks at Harbaugh and says, listen, is there any chance that we're going to get caught for everything we did? Well, I'd say you should come to the Chargers. Hell yeah. What about you, Steve Clintscale? You ready? You ready to come and be our D-backs coach? Well, let me ask you this before I move my family out of Ann Arbor. Is there any chance that we're going to get caught? Well, you might as well move. So, of course, they moved to LA. But Jim Harbaugh has always been interesting to me because he is beloved by Michigan alums. He has non-plausible deniability for all of the wrongdoing. Remember the sign stealing scandal? That's part of this. That name, Connor Stallions, mean anything to you? And Jim Harbaugh saying, I have no idea. And I said to you, much like with the Houston Astros, there is no GM in the game who doesn't know if his team is stealing signs in the dugout. It doesn't exist. There is no manager who doesn't know if they have a sign stealing scheme. It does not exist. There is a scenario where an owner could not know, but it's damn unlikely. Team president, forget it. And a team president, even if there's stuff going on that I don't know, I'm still in charge. I'm still in trouble. I can't do some sort of press availability and say, listen, my darn GM and that manager, they just went behind my back and started banging garbage cans. Harbaugh did that with the sign stealing. Oh, listen, don't, what, me? In my life, I would never. So then this happens, and this is now current day. NCAA sends the letter. And listen to what Harbaugh said. You're going to work in the word of the day here. Don't worry, you'll get there. So, of course, he denied the wrongdoing. And he said, quote, never lie, never cheat, never steal, I was raised with that lesson. I have raised my family on that lesson. I have preached that lesson to the teams that I have coached. No one is perfect. Well, timeout. Can we stop Coco for 1 second? We don't have to, you can just take that off the screen very quickly. If you never do something, then isn't that perfect? I just want you to put a pin in that as we're reading the rest of it. But he says, never lie, never cheat, never steal, but then no one's perfect. So I'm going to wrap my arms around how that can be. But let's now go back to the quote. If you stumble, you apologize and you make it right. Today, I do not apologize. Hell yeah. I did not participate, was not aware nor complicit in those allegations. So it's back to work and attacking with an enthusiasm, word of the day alert, unknown to mankind. So he never lies, never cheats, never steals, but says no one's perfect, but says that if you're not perfect, then you apologize. But I'm not apologizing because I'm perfect, because I never steal, never lie, never cheat. By the way, I'm going to go back to work now with the Chargers, and I am going to attack, not like Dan Campbell attacking the kneecaps. No, no. I'm going to attack with enthusiasm, with vigor, but I'm going to do it with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. It may be known to the primates, not sure. Maybe it's known to the amphibians, possibility, but it's unknown to mankind. That's the level of enthusiasm. How do people recognize if you're a player in training camp with the Chargers? How exactly do you recognize the enthusiasm that's unknown to mankind? I guess you have to be told. Gentlemen, what you're seeing now, you don't recognize, but I just want you to know this is what it looks like to have enthusiasm that is unknown to mankind. Now, let's get back to the playbook. Now, I would like to tell you that what Jim Harbaugh did, and you can bet your bippy that he did. Jim, come on. However, I would like to point out that some of the allegations contained in the notice from the NCAA, they're not what I would call something that I would like to stand up in court and say, this is the dirtiest program we've ever come across. The aforementioned Clinkscale, who of course went with Harbaugh, he is accused apparently of helping a recruit get verified on Instagram and this is when it gets very dicey, writing $100 check for a golf charity event run by the recruit's father. I mean, the NCAA, talk about a smoking gun. You want to know how recruits choose a school? You want to talk about an unfair advantage for Michigan? I think that what that high school recruiter did is he went to all the big time schools. He said, listen, I only have two thoughts here. Forget the Lamborghini, forget nice clothes. I really want to be verified on Instagram. That would mean a ton to me. And if possible, can we hook up my dad? He does this charity event. We could use a Chris Pundo. Minter, this is a good one. Pretty good. This is only a level 2 violation. The other one's like what Harbaugh did, level 1. This one's only level 2, though. He sent text messages to a high school sophomore. Now, of course, level 1 would be inappropriate text messages. Level 2 is text messages, hey, how you doing? Looking good. Keep up the good work. We're watching you. I think the NCAA needs to take just a quick second here. I want to catch the people who are doing stuff wrong, obviously. I don't want to tell you that Jim Harbaugh is perfect because no one's perfect. But if you're the NCAA, why don't we look around at the rules and try? Let's make it so it's bad. It feels like that this is jaywalking, these level 2s. And no one likes to be arrested for jaywalking. Well, I'm going to attack the last 41 minutes of this show. You're going to see this. I don't think you've ever seen this before. And this is our 1104th episode of Nothing Personal, not counting sit downs and mailbags. I'm about to attack the next topic with an enthusiasm that is unknown to mankind. Ice Cube. That's the enthusiasm that I want to impart on you. You may know Ice Cube for what would you know him for? I really don't know what you'd know him for. What I know him for is for the big three, that investment he made, that league 3-on-3. He did something yesterday that is a chef's kiss in business. When you see something happen like the Olympics, companies, and we're going to talk about Nike, we're going to talk about Noah Lyles and Adidas. The business of the Olympics is big. The advertising revenue, the ancillary programming associated with the Olympics, the way Olympians try to monetize their moment. Simone Biles, what she got paid for her golds is a pittance to the importance of what her agent is doing for her now in her post-Olympic career. You can go the way of Michael Phelps, and you can, and I'm not talking about ripping bong hits. I'm talking about you can become someone who testifies in front of Congress, someone who is out there on doping. You can be out there on mental health. You can become a pitch person. You can go on the circuit. There are many ways, but it's all about monetizing. The other type of monetization that takes place are people who have nothing to do with the Olympics, who see an advantage and they try to take advantage of it. So, for example, if John Skipper were ever to call me, hold on, let me see if he's calling me, with his new league Unrivaled. No, not currently calling me, although it is 5 o'clock in the morning, though I'm not sure where he is. If you see a bunch of Olympians, much like you see great players in college and they're going to be drafted into the WNBA, or there's a bunch of fantastic stars in the women's Olympic basketball team, you try to recruit them and have them join your league for increased exposure. Totally get that. Smart move. What Ice Cube did yesterday wouldn't have occurred to me as a plan, and I dig it. He is offering $150,000 for the Olympic champion Netherlands team who won the gold in the 3-on-3. He's challenging them to a game. And here's what he wants. And he gave a quote to Front Office Sports. We think it's only right if the gold medal winners come and play the big three all-stars and see who's the best in the world. Remember, this is where the U.S. men never made it out of pool play. They went 2-5, and there was total despondency. This team, the Netherlands, they had no NBA experience whatsoever. They went 8-1, and they made it all the way. They beat France for the gold. But what Ice Cube decided to do is saying, listen, I think that my league of people you've never heard of, or maybe they used to be famous for a second 2 years ago, let's have you from the Netherlands come. We'll guarantee you money, and then we'll get to show you that we could have won Olympic gold. That's how good we are. I give Ice Cube credit. The likelihood of that game happening, let me think about it. Anywhere between 80 and 100%. Why do I say that? If you're part of the 4-member team of Netherlands who just won the gold medal and you are figuring out how to monetize your moment, if you can get a $150,000 appearance fee for playing a game, it doesn't matter if you get wiped off the court. It doesn't matter if you win. It's not the Globetrotters and the Generals. You go play. You take that money. And I think they will. And I think they should. Other people have a slightly different set of zeros in mind when it comes to taking advantage of their Olympic status. We have read and talked a lot about Noah Lyles. You know, he's in the middle of trying to do the double where he can add on the 200-meter gold to his 100-meter gold. And 200-meter happens to be his best event. He has not won the second gold yet, but he is ready to do some business. He came out yesterday or the day before, and he's an Adidas athlete, and he made it known to Adidas publicly. I'm going to give him a word of advice in a second on how to do this, but he said, I want a signature shoe right now. I don't want a running spike because no one buys running spikes. I want a training shoe. I want my own signature brand training shoe. Why? It's where the money is. It's nice when you become a sponsored athlete by a shoe company. Generally, the overwhelming majority of Nike athletes or Adidas athletes, they get a tiny amount of money, like a stipend, and then they get footwear, they get equipment, but they don't have to pay for it. So it's like they get that in kind. Then, as you go up the chain in popularity or followers or skill, you still get the equipment, but then you start getting some more money and more money. At the top of the chain is your own shoe. And the reason why that's at the top is when you get your own shoe, you also get a piece of your own shoe. And if that hits, that's where you make the real money. It's much like in Hollywood. You can be a contract actor, you can get a set amount for a film above union scale, or you can take a percentage of the gross, a percentage of the net, a percentage of the budget. There are myriad ways that you can take a lot of money if you're willing to take the risk in business. The more you risk, the more you make. Speaking of which, side note here, Coca, quick side note for everyone watching today. I understand that you are anxious about 9:30 Eastern when the market opens. I understand whether you have $5 invested, $1,000, or $1,000,000, that you feel as though yesterday was the worst day of your life with what happened in the stock market. My advice to you, do not be a panic seller. Panic selling is how you lose money. Try not to even look at your account if it's a retirement account, because there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and you just have to be calm. It's sort of like how people make money, how casinos make money, actually, Coca. If you have a bad streak to start, you run out of money, you have no more access to capital, you walk out, you don't have a chance to make your money back. When you've invested money, you have a chance to make your money back because, in theory, you shouldn't be pulling it out or selling at this moment. But in any case, it's like that with a shoe. You can get your own shoe, and the way you're going to get paid is you'll get a sum of money, but then you're going to get a percentage of that shoe. Getting a percentage of the shoe could mean millions of dollars, or it could mean nothing. The question is Noah Lyles someone who can carry a shoe? Which got me thinking about Olympic athletes and how they enter into our brains every 4 years, and how many of those athletes stay front of mind when they're not competing. Who breaks through into the everyday thought process or purchasing process of an individual? Do you think Noah Lyles is someone who you will think about once Paris ends? When you go buy training shoes of any kind, running shoes, any sort, the reason why people buy Air Jordans, the reason why people look at Steph Curry's shoes, the reason why people look at signature shoes of basketball players, they are in front of you, A, for a much longer period of time during their season, and B, during the off season, they've got a portfolio which keeps them front of mind. So if I am representing Noah Lyles, I want to not just demand a signature shoe from Adidas. I want to put together an entire plan for him, which keeps his Q rating going up after the Olympics, which keeps his popularity increasing, which keeps him in front of you for longer. Because if Noah Lyles wins the double and then you don't hear from him again until the World Championships or the next Olympics, or maybe never at all, except, going to, put the checker flag down at a race, you're not going to make money on your shoe. Adidas came out and said, we love Noah Lyles. We appreciate Noah Lyles. We want to work with Noah Lyles. They did not come out and say that they are giving him a shoe. However, I think I know how this ends. Adidas is in a war. That's a poor choice of words, Coca. 4869. Adidas is in a very tough business competition, not just with Nike, but with all startup companies. They're all looking for market share. You know what's going on with Nike and the layoffs they're having, the difficulties they're having, their horrific earnings, their dragged down stock price. You've heard me talk about Under Armour and their problems. Adidas went through period of underperformance. There's movies about the sneaker wars. Air. That's a good movie, by the way. I think Adidas has no choice right now. There's something going on with these Olympics that is causing companies to attach themselves to people in a way that had not happened before. Now, some Olympians, like Simone Biles, she's going to try to take her golds out for a walk. She'll go on a tour of some sort. I think they announced a tour already, the GOAT Tour, Gold Over America Tour, where she's going to go and perform this fall. It's sort of like when Daisy Jones and the Six, they wanted to hurry up and get a tour done when that was hot. They never got the tour together. Where's Daisy Jones and the Six now? You have to do it now. Your 15 minutes starts immediately. I think Adidas is going to make a deal with Noah Lyles. As a matter of fact, Coca, we're going to make it an official wait to see. So here we go. Wait to see. Noah Lyles will get a signature shoe. Leave it at that as the wait to see. Side note, it's not going to work. But Noah, you got to try. You absolutely have to try. Nike's having an interesting time during these Olympics. My view of Nike was always formed. I guess the business side of Nike really came into focus for me in 1992 with the Dream Team. As some of you may recall, and you'd have to be, 32 years old. And so there's about 50% of you right now who have some recollection of the Dream Team. And I'm talking about the original Dream Team in 92 in Barcelona with Ewing and Bird and Magic and Christian Laettner and Barkley. I remember where I was because I was in law school at the time in 1992. And there was a whole big deal about Nike versus Reebok. Jordan and Barkley and others were Nike athletes, but Reebok was the Olympic sponsor. So the U.S. men's basketball team had to wear Reebok sweatsuits when they got their gold medal. And Jordan was told by Nike, and he very much realized what his life was going to be, meaning make more money from Nike than from the Bulls, which is what happens when you hit it right. It's as rare as a solar eclipse. And what they did is they took the American flag and they draped it over as though they were celebrating patriotism. But what they were doing was covering up the Reebok logo. Now, they couldn't put a Nike logo on, but if you go look at the gold medal ceremony, there's a picture. You can find it online. You will see players with flags draped over their shoulders, coincidentally covering Reebok. Nike, of course, made them do it. Nike did not have an agreement with the U.S. Olympic Committee, with U.S. men's basketball. Therefore, there was nothing they could do. Fascinating, I thought, that you can do a deal and somehow still not get the full benefit of your deal. One of the things that Reebok certainly would have wanted was to see Jordan. It's amazing what we used to do when you are a Pepsi Stadium and you're going out and selling sponsorships and you try to get a Coke concert, a concert where they're sponsored by Coke, and have them come into the Pepsi, and how they have to cover up all of the signage. This happens with Major League Baseball. I bet you didn't know that. When Major League Baseball, side note here, Coca, when Major League Baseball has a sponsor for the World Series or the playoffs, and the sponsor's in conflict with an existing stadium sponsor where games are played, guess who wins? Major League Baseball. And guess what? When you sponsor an individual team, you know in advance, because it's in the contract, that in jewel events, World Series, playoffs, All-Star Game, World Baseball Classic, you do not win the day. If there is a sponsor off, you're going to lose. So Nike was very well aware they were going to lose the Reebok sponsor off. The reason that it's interesting to me is that Nike has a problem. The problem is, oh, you're totally right, Coca. That's Noah Lyles. Team USA is sponsored now by Nike, and he's Adidas. There you go. Here's the problem that Nike has. You know that when your stock is down, You know that when your co-founder, Phil Knight, is trying to figure out what to do with the company that he built that used to just grow the way the days of the week would pass. He's in a bit of a panic right now. And according to Bloomberg, he did something very interesting. He sent a letter to every one of his Olympic athletes stressing the importance of winning medals. The pressure of Nike on the athletes. Hey, we sponsor you. You got to win. He said, we need you. The world needs you now more than ever. I was thinking about whether he was doing that because there's wars going on in Russia and Ukraine and the war in Gaza, and that we need a distraction, which is why we need great USA performance. I was wondering whether Phil Knight is such a great man that he wanted to get his team together and say, folks, this is the 2 weeks that matters. This is going to change the course of history because people are going to feel so good about themselves and that this country is going great. Let's go. No, I don't think so. I think the fact that he just cut about 2% of his workforce, some people say it's up to 5% by May of 24 has been cut. There's been executives from top levels all the way to people to lower levels. Do you think that Phil Knight realized that the only way to get some sort of dead cat bounce out of Nike is to try to get positive association with the athletes? Since that's what companies like Nike have done, they choose their athletes like a Jordan and they ride those athletes. They create a brand for those athletes. They make people feel as though they want to be those athletes. And then they sell those people shoes and outerwear, garments, whatever the case may be, because then you get to be like Mike. Also, to be like Mike or to be like Noah, if you're Adidas, the CEO of Nike had said that they're doing a whole new reinvesting in their brand. They want to pour a ton of money into consumer facing activities like the Olympics, like sponsorships with players. They spend $4 billion on marketing efforts. $4 billion with a lagging stock price to let everyone know that to be associated with Nike is to be cool. You are on Team Swoosh. And they're going to spend a ton of money surrounding the Olympics. And I just don't know where the ROI is. What is it about being associated with the Olympics, sponsoring the Olympic team? And this comes from someone who used to sell sponsorships. This comes from someone who ran a company where sponsorships were a huge part of what we did. And we had to convince companies, listen, be associated with us. It's going to drive merchandise. It's going to drive sales. You're going to make money by having an outfield wall sign or a naming rights or a pouring rights, whatever the case may be. It's a very tough argument to have. We'll see what happens. All right, Coca, we got to get to the White Sox. I have so much to say. I'm going to tell you what happened with the White Sox. First, let's take a break, review a movie, and then we're going to talk White Sox. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. We are coming at you live on the West Coast time zone. It is 5:29 in the morning. If you're watching this on Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, it is 8:29 in the morning. And if you're watching this on DraftKings Network, it's 10:29 Eastern. Thank you very much for downloading, subscribing, going to our website, davidsamsonpodcast.com. Check it out. Cool stuff on there. Watch a movie every day, no matter when I'm traveling, no matter when I wake up, though it's so easy now, Coca, doing these shows this week at 5 a.m. I get my movie of the day done before anyone I'm with is awake. Pretty spectacular. I watched a movie yesterday called Fancy Dance. It's available. I must have gotten it on Amazon, maybe on Apple. I can't remember exactly where I watched it. but it's a movie that stars Lily Gladstone. Lily Gladstone, the Academy Award nominated actress from Killers of the Flower Moon. You recognize her. She was a favorite to win unless you were live on the stained carpet with me and you knew that Emma Stone was going to win from Poor Things. But Lily Gladstone is having a great moment. And there is a script that was written about a story that is an ordinary story. The disappearance of a Native American off tribal land where the white people will not participate or help find her, where there is racism, there is rape, there is sexism, there is mistreatment, all of the things that if you're not paying attention, then you may not realize went on, still go on. And this is not me trying to give you a lesson in what our school curriculum should be. This is not me trying to be political. This is me telling you that there are facts and there is fiction. I always like dealing in facts. The facts are on display in this movie. They did it in a way to show the frustration of a Native American family, the frustration of what happens with all the drug use and all the issues that take place with Native Americans and their relationship. You should watch it. It's called Fancy Dance. I wonder whether the White Sox have time to watch Fancy Dance. What do you do when you lose 21 games in a row? I have been thinking about this, and everything that I talk to you about on this show, if I haven't done it, I know people who have, or I've spoken with people who have, or I use my experience in business over the course of my almost 3 score life, and I try to inform and educate you so you can learn about things and you can learn about what you would do maybe when confronted by something. I am ill-equipped to tell you what it's like to lose 21 games in a row. I've spoken to executives who've been a part of losing streaks like that. I've spoken to executives who've been a part of winning streaks. The most games I ever lost in a row was 11, and that happened in 2011. It is hard to forget what that feels like because you remember what I tell you on opening day, every opening day. Those of you who've been with Nothing Personal since the start know I used to need to win opening day because that is the feeling that you can then go 162-0. Of course, it's ridiculous, but that's the feeling. When you lose opening day, you feel like, oh my God, we could go 0-162. We could be the White Sox. It's not rational, but it's real. When you lose 21 in a row, which the White Sox did last night when they lost to the Aths, they have now tied the longest losing streak in the history of the American League. What exactly is the move? Is it just firing your manager? Do you fire your new general manager who you just hired? Nah, here's what you do. You have a meeting. Rumors are that Jerry Reinsdorf had a meeting during the course of this streak, maybe just under a week ago, with Chris Getz and Pedro Grifol, the manager. I wanted to go through what that meeting would be like. Jerry Reinsdorf gets word to his GM and to his manager that he would like to see them in his office on Tuesday at 1:00. The manager then has to decide, do I come in street clothes or do I go to the meeting in uniform? Because BP is going to happen if it's the day of a home game. And you want your boss to think, hey, I'm ready to go. Don't know how long the meeting's going to be, but whenever it's done, I'm ready to get to work, get back on the field. If it's on an off day, the manager will come to a meeting in street clothes. The biggest FU you can do to your manager during a streak is to have him come in on an off day when they're supposed to take a day and not work and get their heads on straight and step away from the grind that is a baseball season. So I'd like to believe that Jerry was nice enough to have this meeting on a game day. And you don't do a meeting like this by Zoom, by phone, by StreamYard. This is in person. And you get notice to the team of your GM and manager that you're going to do the meeting. You don't do it a week in advance. You do it after the previous loss. because you don't need to do a meeting if they've lost 15 in a row and they win a game. There's no reason to meet them the next day. You walk into the clubhouse and say, thank God that's over. Let's go get them tonight. Let's string a few wins together. So it's not like the meeting has a week on the calendar the way some of our meetings do. Hey, you available next Wednesday for lunch? No, it doesn't work that way. So the White Sox lose another game. Jerry realizes it's time for a meeting, gets word down that he wants to see Pedro and Chris. They come up to his office. I can imagine the owner, Jerry, sitting at his desk, maybe smoking a cigar, though I don't know if he smokes cigars anymore. Although at almost 90 years old, if you smoke them, got them. If you got them, smoke them. This is not me suggesting everyone smoke. Relax, everyone. Coca hates. Sorry, Coca. They walk in the office. I've been a part of these meetings. Jerry has his glasses on and his brow is furrowed. I can't remember the word when your brow is. If you're watching this, for those of you not watching, I'm crinkling my eyes and showing my non-Botox natural wrinkles. They sit down. You start with a question. What are we doing here? The manager will always let the general manager talk first. That's how it works. The GM opens that sort of meeting when you're meeting with the GM and the manager, because the GM is above the manager. So the GM will look at Jerry and he will say, and this is what Chris Getz will do and did. It's a guarantee. Jerry, we are disgusted as you are. We cannot stand this, but you've got to understand that the process that we are in the middle of, this is the exact process that you hired me to do. We have taken this team. We don't need 2 years to evaluate it. When you hired me, you said publicly, you hired me because I know the organization. I know this organization like it's my family. I am despondent and distressed and angry and sympathetic and empathetic to our fans and to you, Jerry. But we have got to stick to the plan, and our plan is going to work. Thank you, Chris. That was well said. Pedro, what can you do down in the clubhouse? Tell me what's happening down there during this long losing streak. Jerry, these guys are professionals. No one's happy down there. We're all extremely disappointed. Frankly, we talk about it all the time, and these guys are in a position every day. They come in expecting to win. There is no cloud over their shoulders. The reason why a manager has to say that is because you don't want to let the GM or the owner know that you've lost the clubhouse. Say that your players have given up on you. You have to say that we are working hard. We are doing everything we're supposed to do. We're putting ourselves in a position to win. And don't worry, the tide's going to turn. We're going to get ours, Jerry, I promise. Jerry looks at them and says, okay, those are two of the most ordinary responses you could ever give. I want to know what in the good goddamn is going on. How are we 60 games under 500? In my wildest dreams, in my worst seasons, I told you I want to finish in second place, not last place. You tell me what we're going to do to increase and improve the quality of talent, because what I see every night, I see crap. You want to know how I got the 7 rings on my fingers? By knowing when I see crap and when I don't. You've got exactly 2 days to submit to me the exact plan that we are going to do, not to turn this around, but to make sure that next season we have the greatest turnaround in the history of baseball. 1 second, please. Hold on. Pedro, could you step out for 1 second? Sorry, I'm just getting a call. No, Chris, you can stay. Hey, Chris, we're firing Pedro, right? We got to fire him. But Jerry, you don't fire people in the middle of contracts. You're not going to fire him. The rumors are that you're firing him, but let's let him go to the end of the season. We'll fire him at the end of the season. You'll double pay a manager for 1 year. No big deal. I already know who I want. We're going to bring in someone. It's the opposite of Pedro. It's going to be fine, but no need to tell Pedro this now. It's just bring him back in. Hurry up. Tell him the call's over. Pedro walks back in. How we doing? They end their meeting, they walk out, and I've had a million meetings like this. You walk out and everyone if you ever been in a meeting, this is funny, Coca. Have you ever been in a meeting where there's a complete understanding of what's taken place during the meeting and you feel as though everyone gets it and there's going to be meaningful change? And then you walk out of the door, and the first opportunity for that change to manifest itself, it goes back to the same crap that had happened every time prior. And all the excitement that was built in this meeting, where you got everyone together and it's rah rah, like a team building offsite meeting. Oh my God, we're all going to work together. We're going to do cross company promotions. It's going to be, mwah. And then all of a sudden, it's right back. I think that's what you're going to see with the White Sox, because they're B-A-triple-D. What was it like? Someone asked me, maybe it was you, Coca, or Sarah before the show started. What was it like to lose 11 in a row? I can only tell you that losing 11 in a row is way worse than how good it is to win 11 in a row. And I'm not sure I ever won 11 games in a row. I know that the manager was Edwin Rodriguez. Boy, do I have some Edwin Rodriguez stories. He's the only manager we ever had who quit on us. We were in Tampa on a Sunday morning, getting ready to go to the stadium, and I got a call from our GM who said, by the way, Edwin is not coming to work. He just quit. Now, of course, rumors had been that Edwin was going to be fired and that we were going to replace him. And Edwin was so proud that he just walked away. Do you know who we brought in to manage that Sunday game? People in Baltimore may know him. Brandon Hyde, the current manager of the Orioles. If you look at his managerial record, he managed one game for the Marlins. True story. I don't remember whether we won that game. Does Brandon Hyde have a 0-1 career record managing the Marlins? Or did he win and he's 0-1, we lost? I'm sorry. Well, the good news is he's winning a lot more with the Orioles. You know who's not winning? Thank God. Patrick Corbin. For crying out loud, Meatloaf, how many more starts will Patrick Corbin get? Yes, yesterday was Corbin Day. We took the Giants over the Nats, and guess what? The Giants beat the Nats. Nothing personal pick of the day. It's like taking candy from a baby. Don't you think the meeting happens with the learners and with Dave Martinez and Mike Rizzo? Do you think he calls them in? Mark Lerner calls him in and says, listen, I know we overpaid for Corbin. Worst contract ever. You guys did it. I approved it. We're all in the wrong. He's so bad. Is there any chance, if my dad, rest in peace, may his memory forever be a blessing, if Ted Lerner were watching this crap every 5 days, he would lose his mind. Stop giving him the ball. Make Samson's wait to see that he'll get no September starts a winner. Meanwhile, we'll keep picking against him and keep winning. I don't know if you got a chance to see the Dodgers game last night. Dodger fans made me happy last night. Thank you for giving Freddie Freeman a standing ovation. Freddie Freeman's son had been really sick. Freddie'd been away from the team for, I don't know, over a week, taking care of his son who was suffering from Guillain-Barré syndrome. Freddie came back, got a hit last night, at least one. The Dodgers, we had them beating the slumping Phillies, and they did. You had Teoscar Hernandez going deep. You had Nola pitching relatively ineffectively while given a 2-0 lead. And so we went 2-0. And we are now 103 and 110. I just do want to point out to people, A, we've made a heck of a recovery. But B, it's easy for me over the years to not root for the Dodgers because I can't stand their financial might. I can't stand their muscle and the way they throw it around. But there is one player on that team who will always have my respect, and that's Freddie Freeman. And it has nothing to do with his son being ill, because I had this respect for him as a player when I was in the game and when I was out of the game. I'm happy for you, Freddie. More importantly, I hope your son stays okay. Our pick for tonight is an interesting one. The Atlanta Braves are in a bit of a pickle. They've got to try to catch the Phillies. They have a chance to be in the wild card. They've got a Cy Young candidate on their roster, and they have to be thinking to themselves, what would have happened if we didn't have all these injuries? If we had Spencer Strider, if we had Acuna, if we had Albies. Now, it's funny. Come to think of it, Coca, a majority of teams say the same thing. That's a way to excuse losing, is you say, oh, we don't have enough revenue. We had a low payroll. Oh, we had a ton of payroll, but we had more injuries than the other teams. It feels as though Atlanta, and this is obviously just anecdotal, it feels that way, that their injuries were crushing. They made this trade for Chris Sale, and I, who am wrong just as much as I'm right, I was critical of the extension that they gave Chris Sale. Why would you sign him when he had been crap for the Red Sox for so long? The odds are he was finished. Well, he is rejuvenated. Chris Sale and the Red Sox and the Braves are minus 142 over the Brewers. Chris Sale is on Cy Young watch. Can you imagine? Well, we're taking him. I want to do a quick correction here, Coca. A quick correction, if you don't mind. We do nothing personal. There's no script. There's no teleprompter. It is me coming to you for 50 minutes. No editing. There are mistakes that happen. I made a mistake yesterday talking about the Jackie Robinson statue. I said that it was stolen from its home in Kansas City. Thank you for all going on David P. Samson on Twitter, into my DMs, on David Samson podcast, throwing up a flare gun, whatever it is you did. I was wrong. The statue was stolen out of Wichita, not Kansas City. And the good news is I just read, because I wanted to make the correction, which now I'm doing, is that the new statue has already been unveiled. News. Wait, Chris Sale's not pitching tonight? Well, when did that happen? Did that just get announced? I thought we're going with Chris Sale. Why is it Bryce Elder? Oh, because Ronaldo Lopez was moved to the IL? All right, let's redo the Nothing Personal Pick of the Day segment. Here we go. Nothing Personal Pick of the Day. We went 2-0 last night as the Dodgers beat the Phillies, and it was Corbin Day, and the Giants beat the Nats. We're 103 and 110. Tonight, our pick of the day is the Milwaukee Brewers over the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves were supposed to have Chris Sale pitching. Chris Sale, who is really potentially the favorite to win the Cy Young. The Atlanta Braves suffering through tremendous injuries, having one of the best pitchers in baseball, Spencer Strider, gone. Then they had Chris Sale become one of the best, return to form. Then they had Ronaldo Lopez, hurt, and he was pitching as a potential Cy Young candidate. They're forced against the slumping Brewers to pitch Bryce Elder, who's decent, not decent enough. We are taking the Brewers over the Braves. Tuesday's Nothing Personal Pick of the Day. There you go. As I was saying, we're live. Stuff just happens during the course of a show. Coca, with his dulcet tones, gets into my right ear, and we continue. I wonder how much time you're going to allocate to the Olympics today. Do you notice that your viewing habits have changed? Because mine have. It is fantastic that I'm on West Coast and the Olympics are 9 hours ahead. It's fantastic that I can get my movie done and still figure out that I'm going to watch men's basketball. And I know that I can wake up early and watch that Greece was already eliminated and Giannis will go home medalists. South Sudan must be happy. Know that the men's basketball team will play this afternoon, and I'll get to watch that as they are 69-point favorites over Brazil. I don't think that's the real line, Coca, but you told me what it was. It's some ungodly line. It's over 24 points. 26 points, 26 and a half points. I shall not be betting USA men's basketball. That's why they're not my pick of the day. But this is when it gets real, and you're going to hear Steve Kerr say, hey, we're not taking anyone for granted, because they got to win the gold. We also are going to please watch the women's soccer. They're in their semifinal, win today, and they're guaranteed nothing worse than the silver. However, they're also supposed to win gold. Very tough to go into Olympics when you have to win, supposed to win, and there is no way that you can let a bulge get in your way and settle for silver or nothing. You've got to win. And the whole purpose of it, of doing what you're supposed to do, is that it's a part of your business plan. All of these athletes have their plan. And here's what they're going to do. They're going to win gold. They're going to make Phil Knight happy. They're going to get bigger, better deals with Nike, or they'll get signature shoes with Adidas, or they'll get commercials or tours. Under every scenario, they'll look out at the crowd, they'll stand on the podium, and they'll say, "It's just business. Congratulations. This is nothing personal."